The world of reality television has been shaken to its core, and this time, the drama cuts deeper than scripted storylines or petty on-screen rivalries. At the center of the storm is Kirk Frost, a longtime cast member of Love and Hip Hop who is no stranger to controversy. But even his most loyal fans and closest friends were not prepared for what unfolded behind the scenes. What started as an ordinary filming day spiraled into chaos after Kirk was shown a private video, one that had never been seen before and featured two very familiar faces: his wife, Rasheeda, and fellow castmate Yung Joc. Yes, that Yung Joc. According to people on set, the footage was deeply personal, unexpectedly intense, and enough to send Kirk into an emotional breakdown right there on set. Those present described the scene as shocking. One moment, Kirk was quiet and composed. The next, he was pacing, shouting, confronting cast and crew alike, demanding answers no one was prepared to give. The video, described by insiders as intimate and inappropriate, was not just a breach of trust, it was a betrayal captured on camera. As word of the incident spread, it sent shockwaves through the entire cast. Some were speechless. Others were angry. Everyone had questions. Why was Kirk the last to find out? Had Rasheeda been hiding something all along? And who recorded the video in the first place? Tension had been building for weeks. Those on set noticed Kirk's strange behavior, avoiding eye contact, especially with Rasheeda and Joc, and retreating into an uncharacteristic silence. The air had become thick with suspicion, and crew members had begun whispering during shoots, unsure what was brewing beneath the surface. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, everything erupted. Kirk arrived late to the shoot, his eyes heavy with emotion. He did not speak. He did not smile. He just watched. His gaze found Rasheeda across the room, and she immediately sensed something was wrong, though she could not have imagined what was about to happen. The truth, it seems, had come from a mysterious flash drive handed to Kirk just 2 nights before. No one knows exactly who gave it to him. Some believe it came from a recently fired crew member, while others say it was slipped under his dressing room door without a word. The file was simply labeled "Play Me." He did. And what he saw, sources say, broke him. The footage reportedly showed Rasheeda and Yung Joc in a hotel room. It was not professionally shot, just a shaky, phone-recorded clip. But it was raw, real, and enough to unravel the already fragile threads of Kirk's world. This was not just another scandal. This was a turning point, one that could fracture the very foundation of the show and the relationships within it. And if the rumors are true, this is only the beginning. Trust is a fragile thing, and for Kirk Frost, it shattered in seconds. It began with a video. Not a scandalous production or a grainy tabloid clip, but something far more raw, more personal. Caught on a shaky phone camera, it showed Rasheeda and Yung Joc laughing, drinking, and sitting much too close. Joc's hand casually resting on her leg, their body language whispering secrets louder than words ever could. They looked comfortable, like no one was watching. But now Kirk had watched it, over and over. And it had become the only thing he could see. That footage did not just sting, it detonated. Kirk snapped while cameras were rolling. The crew caught every breath, every shout, every slam. A chair flew across the room, crashing against the wall as he roared, "So this is what y'all been doing behind my back?" Silence fell. Rasheeda froze. Joc, clearly stunned, stepped forward, hands raised in peace. "Kirk, man, you got it wrong," he said, trying to soothe the explosion. But Kirk was locked in, his voice cracked, eyes blazing. "Nah, I saw it. I saw y'all. Drinking like it's date night. Her legs on yours like nothing matters." This was not just rage. It was devastation. Betrayal. A man watching the life he built crumble right in front of everyone. Rasheeda's voice broke as she finally spoke. "You don't know the full story, Kirk. That video, it isn't what it looks like." But Kirk could not unsee it. "Then tell me what it is," he shot back, "'cause from where I'm standing, it looks like you forgot you were married." Producers rushed in, urging the cameras to cut, but Kirk pushed through them. Nah, let it roll. Let the world see what happens when you trust the wrong people. The room fell into stunned silence. Rasheeda stood motionless, tears quietly rolling down her cheeks. Joc stared at the floor, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Then came the second wave, social media. A blurry still from the video leaked online, just enough to spark a wildfire. Hashtags lit up timelines. Hashtag Rasheeda betrayed Kirk and hashtag Joc and Rasheeda exposed. Fans chose sides before facts even surfaced. The damage was no longer private, it was global. Later that evening, Kirk sat alone in a dim green room, hunched over, his head in his hands. A producer tiptoed in, hoping to get a statement. Kirk looked up, red-eyed and hollow. "How long you think she's been lying to me?" he whispered. It was not a question for anyone. It just lingered, unanswered. Meanwhile, outside in her car, Rasheeda refused to leave. Her voice sharp, her eyes glassy, she demanded answers. "If he saw something, then I deserve to see it too," she snapped. But no one else had the flash drive. Kirk kept it to himself. The only evidence of what he saw was in his head, and that one blurry image now flooding the internet. Joc tried damage control, cornering a producer. "Nothing happened, man. It was after a club gig. We were staying in the same hotel. She came by for 10 minutes. We just talked. That's it." But by then, no one wanted the truth. They wanted a story, and this was the one they had already chosen to believe. In a private confessional, even castmate Mendices weighed in. Staring into the camera, he said what many viewers were thinking: Kirk's been through hell. But this? I can't blame him for losing it. If I saw my wife like that with another dude, even if it was innocent, I'd lose my damn mind too. Backstage, the cast chat lit up in chaos. Some backed Rasheeda, calling Kirk's reaction extreme. Others stood by Kirk, defending his heartbreak. Mimi chimed in with perspective. "Y'all need to chill. Cameras lie. Editing lies. We've all been done dirty by producers." But Kirk was not thinking about editing. He was thinking about trust. About the vows he made. About the years he invested, now reduced to a few minutes of footage that no one could explain. What made it worse? A quiet comment overheard. Rasheeda had not gone home the night before. Kirk's head jerked up. Where'd she go then? No one answered. They did not need to. The silence was louder than words. Kirk grabbed his jacket and walked off the set. No shouting. No theatrics. Just heartbreak, leaving the room in its wake. Outside, the cameras kept rolling, but the script was gone. This was no longer entertainment. It was real. Inside her car, Rasheeda sat motionless. Her thoughts raced through memories, through moments with Kirk, through that night with Joc. Could it really have looked that bad? Could this be fixed? But the truth was already out. And once trust is broken on national television, can anything truly be repaired? Back on set, whispers took over. Crew members questioned each other in hushed voices. Did something really happen between them? Was Kirk right all along? No one knew what to believe. In the end, producers called for an emergency meeting. Damage control was urgent. But the bigger question loomed: who would take responsibility for this mess? Was it Rasheeda? Joc? Or Kirk, whose reaction lit the fire? Shaking, Rasheeda finally picked up her phone and called Kirk. It rang and rang until he answered. His voice was low, worn. "Kirk, listen to me," she said, voice cracking. "I never meant to hurt you. That night." "Don't talk to me about that night," he interrupted, his tone barely above a whisper, but sharp as glass. "You really gonna tell me nothing happened? That I imagined what I saw? Don't act like I'm the fool here." She took a deep breath, the weight of it all pressing down. But how do you defend yourself against what someone believes they saw? And how do you undo a moment that the whole world has already seen? "Kirk, you keep saying you want to understand, but do you really?" Rasheeda's voice was tight, full of frustration. "I married you. I built this life with you. And now you're accusing me of stepping out with one of my own friends? What did you expect me to feel? Her words hung in the air, but the call had already ended. The silence that followed was louder than any argument. Inside her car, Rasheeda sat frozen, staring through the windshield. Her heart pounded, but her thoughts raced even faster. The way Kirk had spoken, cold, certain, final, made one thing heartbreakingly clear: he had already made up his mind. The trust they once held between them now lay shattered, like glass no one knew how to piece back together. Back on set, chaos brewed beneath the surface. Producers scrambled to figure out what to do next. Should Kirk be the one to apologize for his explosive breakdown? Or did Rasheeda need to speak her truth and tell her side of the story? One thing was certain: this was no longer just about a viral video. It had become something deeper. A marriage teetering on the edge. A connection unraveling in real time. Meanwhile, Joc tried to stay under the radar. He knew too well how fast public opinion could flip. One wrong move, and his entire image could crumble. Still, despite keeping a low profile, the whispers kept growing louder. Some fans came to his defense, insisting nothing inappropriate had taken place. Others were not so kind, accusing him of betraying a man who had once called him a brother. Then came the unexpected. An old friend of Kirk's, Mency, finally reached out. He had seen the same video, but his reaction was not what people expected. "Yo, Kirk," he texted, "man up. I get that this hurts, but you can't keep running from it. Talk to her. That's your wife." And Joc? I've known him for years. He would never step over that line. Kirk read the message over and over. The anger still pulsed through him, but Mency's words hit somewhere deeper, right in the place where doubt had started to bloom. Could he have jumped to conclusions? Had he let one video cloud everything they had built? Still, swallowing pride is easier said than done. Could he really admit he might have been wrong? What Kirk did not realize was that with every second he stayed silent, the foundation of his marriage, his public image, and his peace of mind was cracking more. The show's producers were in damage control mode. Everyone sensed that the whole project could implode if this was not handled with care. But how do you steady a ship when your stars are drowning? Joc and Rasheeda had been keeping their distance, not because they had something to hide, but because they understood just how badly things could look if they were seen together again. Unfortunately, the media had already decided on its headline. Gossip sites exploded. Rasheeda in heated encounter with Joc. Was Kirk right about the betrayal? The stories wrote themselves, and the comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Fans took sides. Some attacked, some defended. But all eyes were watching. Inside the production studio, tension hung in the air like fog. Everyone waited for the next move, but no one wanted to make it. The damage had been done. Words had been spoken, footage had gone viral, and relationships, both personal and professional, were now on the line. But one question loomed above it all like smoke from a slow-burning fire. Who was really the victim? Was it Kirk, left devastated by what he believed to be betrayal? Or was it Rasheeda, judged unfairly for something that may not have been what it looked like? As the dust settled, it became clear this was only the beginning. The fallout from Kirk's explosion had set off a chain reaction, one that could not be undone with apologies or edits. Everyone was feeling the heat, not just the central players. Careers were at stake. Reputations were on the chopping block. Days passed, but the pressure did not. Rasheeda sat alone at home, scrolling through comments online. Each one felt like a blow to the chest. How could she do that to him? One said. Knew she was hiding something, said another. A few seconds of unclear footage had become her entire story, and now the world refused to believe there might be more to it. She wondered if there was still a way to make Kirk hear her, to make anyone hear her. But in the court of public opinion, truth rarely matters as much as perception. And perception? Well, that had already gone viral. The internet was buzzing like a hive in chaos, but Rasheeda had never felt more isolated. She sat in silence, drowning in a sea of opinions from people she had never met, people who believed they knew her story just because they had watched a clip online. The scandal had already cut deep, but what hurt more was the cruelty of strangers who claimed to understand, when all they really saw was a few seconds of footage. No one paused to wonder what it cost her to stay quiet all these years. No one asked what it felt like to live a life where every move was judged, every smile was questioned, and every choice picked apart. To the outside world, she was a character on a screen. But to herself, she was a woman who had spent years fighting to hold on to her family, her identity, her dignity. That short video had become a wildfire. It burned through everything she had tried to keep private. The pain, the pressure, the silent cries for space, none of that had made it into the headlines. All people saw was the drama, not the human behind it. Meanwhile, Kirk was breaking down in his own way. At first, all he could feel was fury. The betrayal he believed he saw hit him hard. He had not asked questions. He had not listened. He had seen the footage, and in that moment, his world turned upside down. His trust shattered like glass, sharp and dangerous. But then Mandisi's text arrived. It was a simple message, just a few words. "What if you're wrong?" That was all it said, but it hit Kirk like a sledgehammer. It forced him to stop, to breathe, to think. What if what he saw was not the whole story? Could he have misread the situation? Could he have reacted too quickly, blinded by pain and pride? Suddenly, the certainty he had clung to began to crack. His mind, once locked in anger, started replaying the last few months. Rasheeda had changed, yes, but had she truly betrayed him? Or had she simply reached a breaking point he had failed to notice? He remembered her silence during arguments, the way she had pulled away, the exhaustion in her eyes that she tried so hard to hide. He had seen it, but he had chosen not to ask. He had told himself she was just stressed. Now, he realized she had been screaming for help in her own quiet way. Rasheeda, on the other hand, was still carrying the guilt. Not just because of the video, but because she had hidden things from Kirk. She had taken meetings without telling him, signed papers in secret, not to hurt him, but to protect something within herself that had been fading. For so long, she had played the role everyone expected, the loyal wife, the patient mother, the composed TV personality. But beneath all of that was a woman trying not to disappear. The deal with the other network had felt like freedom. For the first time, someone had seen her not as a side character to Kirk's story, but as a lead in her own. She had wanted to feel powerful again, in control. But now, as she sat alone, the price of that power felt too steep. The betrayal Kirk felt was real, but so was the pain she had endured in silence. They were both hurting, both misunderstood. And now, with the world watching, they stood on opposite sides of the same heartbreak, unsure whether to walk away or fight their way back to each other. That was the thing about love. It was never perfect. It cracked, it faltered, it stumbled under pressure. But sometimes, when both hearts were still beating, it could be mended. The next step was not about who was right or wrong. It was about whether they were still willing to see each other, truly see each other, beyond the anger, the headlines, and the silence. Could they find the courage to speak honestly? To forgive? To rebuild? Time would tell. But at that moment, with the internet still buzzing and their hearts still aching, a fragile hope began to grow. Maybe, just maybe, this was not the end. One night, long after the studio lights dimmed and the house had gone still, Kirk sat in the silence replaying that video over and over again in his mind. It was not the footage itself that haunted him, it was the way Rasheeda had smiled, the comfortable way she had laughed with Joc. Was there something real behind that? Or was his imagination running wild? Unable to sit with his thoughts any longer, Kirk grabbed his phone and called Mandisi. "Yo, Kirk, what's good?" Mandisi's calm voice came through the line. Kirk let out a sigh filled with frustration. "Man, I don't know what to believe anymore. I feel like I'm losing it. Everything I thought I knew, it's falling apart. First thing, breathe, Mandezi replied gently. You need to talk to Rasheeda, not fight with her. Get the truth straight from her before you make any more assumptions. Right now, you're fighting shadows. Kirk nodded even though no one could see. You're right, but it feels like the whole world's lying to me. I don't know if I can ever trust her again. Trust is the foundation, bro, Mandezi said. But if you never give her the chance to explain, then how will you ever know the truth? And think about your family, not just your pride. Fixing this might be hard, but not trying at all, that's worse. Those words stuck with Kirk. In the quiet that followed, he found a flicker of hope, a fragile thread to hold onto. The next morning, he dialed Rasheeda's number, his fingers shaking with nerves. When she answered, her voice was cautious, guarded. Rasheeda, can we talk? Kirk said, his voice gentler than it had been in weeks. This has gone too far. I just want to understand what is really going on. There was a pause, heavy, loaded, before she finally answered. I've been trying to talk to you, she said softly. But every time I try, you shut me out. I never wanted things to end up like this. I don't know what to think anymore, Kirk admitted. But I want to hear it from you. I need to know the truth about you and Joc. Was there something I didn't see? Rasheeda's voice trembled. There was nothing going on. That video? It looked bad, I get it. But it was innocent. We were laughing, yes, but it meant nothing. You have to believe me. Kirk closed his eyes, struggling to separate truth from insecurity. I want to believe you, he said quietly. But if there's more to this, I need you to be honest. Because only then can we even try to fix what is broken. She responded after a long breath. Kirk, I am not hiding anything. But we are letting the noise around us ruin what we built. We are letting rumors and opinions decide how we treat each other. We have to stop. Back on the other side of the chaos, Joc was drowning in whispers. No matter how hard he tried to stay under the radar, the media would not let up. Headlines twisted the story. Fans picked sides. Online attacks piled up. Feeling cornered, Joc called his manager in frustration. I can't do this anymore. This is ruining everything I worked for. I did not ask for this drama, and now it's all anyone wants to talk about. His manager tried to keep him grounded. I get it, but now's not the time to speak out. Lay low. Let it pass. We'll clean this up behind the scenes. Joc was tired of hearing that. How am I supposed to stay quiet when everyone's watching me like a villain? This isn't just Kirk's mess, it's messing with my whole career. Despite the anger and exhaustion, Joc knew the harsh truth. If he misstepped now, everything he had worked for could vanish in an instant. Meanwhile, at the studio, producers were walking on eggshells. Kirk and Rasheeda's conversation had barely scratched the surface, but at least it had started. Still, the air between them was thick with tension. Neither of them knew if they could find their way back, but both understood that decisions needed to be made soon. Were they ready to repair the damage? Or was it time to walk away? And as for Joc, would he ever be welcomed back by the cast? Or had this scandal marked him permanently? One question still loomed over everything, the one no one dared to say aloud. Who was truly the victim here? Was it Kirk, blindsided and betrayed? Or Rasheeda, misunderstood and cornered by assumptions? The dust had not settled. The answers were not clear, and the fallout was only just beginning. What about Joc? Would he fade quietly into the background, or was his involvement only going to stir the pot even more? As Kirk and Rasheeda tried to find clarity in their ongoing conversations, the future of their marriage teetered on a delicate edge. Could they rebuild what was broken, or was this the slow unraveling of everything they had built together? Day by day, the pressure mounted. Their home felt more like a battlefield than a refuge. Headlines continued to swirl like storm clouds overhead, each one more invasive than the last. The gossip, the speculation, the strangers passing judgment, it all carved into them, slowly and deeply. But neither of them was willing to wave the white flag, not yet. She glanced at Kirk, her voice soft and unsure. I never wanted it to come to this, she whispered, wiping away a tear. I just needed something for myself. Kirk said nothing at first. He watched her, trying to piece together the fragments of who they had been. Despite the lies, the pain, the anger that still simmered beneath the surface, he still loved her. And that truth hurt the most. "I know you didn't mean to hurt me," he finally said, voice trembling with emotion. "But Rasheeda, I'm hurting too. I've got my own demons. And maybe I've not always handled them well, but this mess, it's not just yours to carry." She looked down, hands shaking. "I do not even know who I am anymore, Kirk. I do not know if I'm still the woman you fell in love with, or someone I can't even recognize." Her words cut deep. Kirk could see it now. The strong, fearless woman he loved was worn down, cracked by the pressure of a life lived under constant judgment. He wanted to comfort her, to reach out and hold her. But did he still have that right? Just then, a knock echoed through the house. They both looked up, startled. Kirk stood to answer it, unsure who it could be at this hour. When the door opened, it was Mendici. He stepped in without waiting for a welcome, his face a mirror of concern. "I've been hearing everything," he said, scanning both their faces. "And I had to come." Kirk sighed, running his hands through his hair. "You already know. The video, the fallout. Everything is falling apart." Mendici turned to Rasheeda, his voice gentler now. "You hanging in there? I know the storm is loud, but you cannot let it drown you. You still have something worth fighting for." Rasheeda forced a weak smile, her voice heavy. "I have been fighting for so long, Mendici. I just do not know if I was ever fighting for the right things." Mendici stood still for a moment, then looked between them. "You both are in pain. But you have two choices. You let this destroy what you've built, or you rebuild it together. No one can fix this alone." Kirk and Rasheeda exchanged a tired glance. They were exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But they knew he was right. If they wanted any chance at healing, they had to face it side by side. Once Mendici left, Kirk sat down next to Rasheeda again. The weight of the moment still clung to the room, but something had shifted. A sliver of hope had cracked through the darkness. "Maybe we can fix this," Kirk murmured, gently reaching for her hand. "Maybe we just need to start over, and take it one day at a time." Rasheeda nodded slowly, tears brimming in her eyes. "I do not know if we can, Kirk, but I am willing to try for us. For our family." And so they sat, side by side, with the world still spinning outside their door. The headlines would keep coming. The whispers would not stop. But inside, they had made a quiet promise. They would try. Not for the cameras. Not for the fans. For each other. There was still a long road ahead. It would not be easy. But step by step, they were beginning to find their way back. As the dust began to settle on Kirk and Rasheeda's deeply personal storm, the big question remains: can love survive betrayal, public scrutiny, and heartbreak? Or is some damage simply too great to repair? What do you think? Was Kirk justified in his anger, or did Rasheeda have every right to seek a path of her own? Is this the beginning of healing or the quiet prelude to a final goodbye? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss the next twist in this unfolding story. Because one thing is for sure, this chapter may be closing, but the story is far from over.